out the auction that's totally separate from the game at hand. It ends tonight. How important is that? And it's kind of a cool deal that not every school does. And just tell us a little bit.
Well, in this season in particular, I think we're the only men's team in the country that Nike is providing some big uniforms for us to wear. So we decided to go ahead with this auction, and you know, we're excited about it. It's a way to raise some funds for cancer research that will all stay here locally. And, you know, at the same time, more importantly, you know, raise some awareness for cancer, and hopefully people just continue to do their checkups and listen to their doctors, and you know, as my wife has said many times, if it just impacts one person in a positive way, then this is all worth it.
You mentioned before about after the game how your team has evolved or progressed since the first meeting. What in your mind has been the biggest jump from your team the last time you guys met?
You know, the reality of it is we didn't play very well against Missouri State the first time around, and I don't know if it's coming off Christmas break or what the problem was. And Missouri State also had a lot to do with it. They threw some things at us that we hadn't exactly seen before, and we didn't respond very well to them. And then the reality of it is if, you know, if Weems and Downing score 57 between them, we're going to get beat again. We have to do a better job defensively on their two best players.
Downing's coming off the bench now. Does that change any of the way that he has the potential to impact the game?
No, I don't think so, because they're using him in much the same way. And you know, he spends a little bit of time at the point guard backing up Bazookas and giving him a break. But you know, he's still a great three-point shooter and can do some image off the dribble as well. You know, and he's one of the guys that can have a big night against you from their team, and that's obviously was the case when we played him the first time.
You mentioned that sometimes teams play better and whatever, but the fact that they've won 6 in a row, 4 in a row, is there something that one team over another? It's just kind of a,
you know, this last year's team was so experienced, and I think they beat us with that experience a year ago. We had leads in both games, actually all 3 games we played in them last year, and I think we had double-digit leads in 2 of the 3 in the second half, and didn't let those slide away. This year's team Missouri State's team is much different, but they still have one of the best players in the league in Kyle Weems. They've added to that a point guard who I think is just a perfect fit for their team and their personnel, and Bazookas, who distributes the basketball. And they're getting, you know, they brought in Anthony Downing, who's given them another capable scorer. So, you know, they've been in a lot of close games, and obviously they lose on the last second shot at Northern Iowa, and they lose in overtime at home to Evansville, games that they had leads in the last 20 seconds. So this is a Missouri State team that's not far from being 6-1 and tied for the league lead.
is it dangerous to meet them now then?
I think it's dangerous to meet them anytime. You know, they play well on their home court. They'll have a great crowd there tomorrow, and they're a very good basketball team.
Seems like Austin Chapman's playing a lot more confident on Sunday. How's he improving as the season goes on?
He's sticking with it, and it can be hard over the long haul. You know, it's a grind for everybody, and especially for a freshman the first time through. And you know, oftentimes when you're backing up a senior that's as valuable to us as Antoine Young is, your minutes are going to be a couple at a time, and it's really hard to get any game flow when you do that. And I think Austin has adjusted his role a little bit better, and I've liked what I've seen the last couple of games.
What about Ding? When he's been able to give you off the bench, had a nice night there.
Defensively, he's improving, which is probably the area that he's made the greatest stride since he's set foot on campus. Obviously, he's always been able to shoot the basketball, and he continues to work on his ball handling. He had a nice play going to the basket the other night. You know, we're going to need Avery down the stretch here because he brings us some length in that guard court that we don't necessarily have, and he's a good athlete. He's a sneaky good athlete, and obviously he can shoot the basketball with the best of them.
You guys played with a target on your back all season. Now that you and Wichita has kind of gotten some separation from the rest of the pack, it's still early, but does that target get bigger?
I don't think it changes. We've played in front of good crowds pretty much everywhere we've been, and I think that'll continue to be the case as we make this stretch run in the last 2/3 of the conference portion of the season. You know, there's some great venues across the valley, and because of the fact that we've been ranked, virtually for 2 months, I think that brings the opposing fans out. Besides the fact to watch their team, they get to watch a ranked team. But you know, as I mentioned, we've been there before. We've done that. Our guys understand it. At least to this point, they've been remarkably poised and focused when we've played away from home.
Any trends or anything like that, patterns that you're seeing across college basketball this year that you notice? I mean, just maybe being able to watch it over the course of the season. Is there anything different this year?
Well, in our league, I think certainly the offensive production's up across the league, you know, from top to bottom. I remember one of my last years in the Valley playing Southern Illinois in a conference tournament semifinal game. It was tied at 40 going to overtime, and I thought we played our tails off. You know, it's different basketball right now in our league. You know, it's still great coaching, but I just think there's some very talented offensive players that are making plays despite some pretty good defense.
How about just the grind of the league? Is it tougher this year than it was?
You know, this last week was tough. You know, whatever, 4 games in 9 days, and, you know, not a lot of prep time. You know, we were fortunate that we got through with nobody getting hurt, nobody being sick. Because if you had the wrong thing happen to you during that 9 days, it could be devastating to your season. You're playing almost you know, a quarter of your league games in a 9-day period, and that can really impact your race for a conference champion. So you know, we got through it well, and now at least we'll be able to get a little bit more of a routine back to what we're doing. It's Wednesday, Saturday from here on out. We'll have 2 days of prep for every game and every Sunday off, and that, you know, for an athlete, that routine is important, and it'll be good to get back to that.
How about just the overall competitiveness? I mean, a couple of the coaches remarked today on the conference call that, you know, this is as tough as they've seen the league.
I think the top is probably what people expected. You know, Indiana State hasn't played as well as they're capable to this point, but they're going to come out of it probably in time for us to see them twice here in the last month. But I think what's probably surprised teams is how good the predicted bottom of the league is played. And you know, Southern Illinois is a totally different team now than they were in November and early December, because they've got all those bodies back. They're healthy, and you know, our fans saw a much better Southern Illinois team than the one we saw last year. Bradley, even though they're in last place, arguably has 2 of the more talented offensive players in the league, in Sims Edwards and Taylor Brown. So there's nothing easy about this league. Anybody that's watched Evansville play, you know, they're as close to 6-1 as they are to 3-4. They've lost a ton of close games, and they finally won one. So, you know, across the league, there's enough different styles that you have to prepare for, and enough talent returning from a year ago that every game's going to be a fight.